Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello, Billy Ho here, and we are doing the 2023 Byron Nelson AT&T sponsor. This year, 2023, it's at the same place, third year in a row, TPC Craig's Ranch. Appreciate you all joining me today and hanging out for the show. This is a preview show. It's a day or so late. I had a long Derby weekend, Kentucky Derby, my hometown. Long day of partying Saturday. Needed a day to recharge the batteries yesterday, so we're back in full effect today. Now, preview and pick show. Please be sure to subscribe, smash the like, notification bells, all that good stuff. Leave some comments below. Let me know what your ideas are this week on strategy, because if you stick around to the end of this video, I've actually come up with some strategies for these elevated events versus like these non-elevated events, like the one we got this week, where people are calling them so quote unquote weak field events. I'm calling them lower tiered events because they're just lower tier of golfer. It's not like they're weak. These guys are PGA Tour professionals. So anyway, we're going to look at the course, TPC Craig's Ranch. There are some changes, one change, I guess. So let's get into it. And real quick before we get started, this is the weather outlook for the week. We are in Texas. We're just about slightly northeast of Dallas, Fort Worth area. So we've got some guys in the Discord that are from that region down there in Texas. So we might have to check in with our dudes there to see how they're feeling and what the weather's looking like. But to me, when I look at this, I see wind, Texas wind, afternoon wind. Could be gusty, could be 20, 30 mile an hour gusts going on. So, and rain. We've got rain in the forecast Wednesday. We got some spilling into Thursday morning, maybe over the weekend, Friday and Saturday. But, it's way too early to predict exactly what's going to happen. So, we're going to get into the golf course right now. And it's TPC Craig's Ranch, what you're seeing on your screen. It's a 7,500 yard and newly converted par 71. Extremely easy golf course. It's only slightly tougher because basically they took the very easiest par 5 on the golf course, number 12, and knocked it down to about a 500 yard par 4. So anyway, wide open zoysia grass fairways, about 6,800 large, 6,800 square foot on average bent grass greens. Rough is about 2.5 inch Bermuda, but I don't think it's that bad. But if you're spraying it out there, then you might be in trouble anyway. You're doing it wrong. So on the flyover, you can look at some of these uh, golf holes here, like 136, 17, 18, and whatnot. So basically, what we're looking at here is you can spray it around. There's hardly no tree trouble anywhere. Grip it and rip it. All the averages are way up on the PGA Tour. Driving distance way up, driving accuracy way up, greens and regulation way up, three putting way down. So the things that you need to do to score well on golf courses are easier. So basically, on the front nine, you got several holes fewer than 430 yards. So there's going to be some flag hunting going on. All par threes, or I mean, all three par fives are reachable in two by most. And their 14th hole is a drivable par four, about 330 yards. There's a short par three, number 17, with the grandstand set up, and the Texas crowd will be raucous. They're setting up their own little par three where everybody gathers around, hoping somebody gets an ace. So that's kind of how the course lines up. If you're listening in the car, I'm showing the people on the screen the approach distribution list. Very little on the gap wedges, which is 100 to 125. There's a lot fewer of those. But from 125 to 150 and the 150, 75, 200 buckets, all in line with tour average. But So now what we got to do with 12 being moved to a 493 yard par four, we're thinking that's going to add a little bit more to that 150 or that 175 to 200 mark. Uh, and also, unlikely unless you miss it badly off the tee, you're going forward the green in two on all the par fives. So that's why we have way above average number of shots over 200 yards. So that's everybody going for the green in two, and people, there are some long par fours, including now the converted number 12, which is about 500 yards. And then you have hole 16, 492, 472, 468, 484, hole 8 is pretty long. So there is some length to the course. But like I said, wide open fairways pretty easily. So as we get in over here and look at the cheat sheet on Rick Run Good, courtesy, pricing's out, everybody's set. We're going to start looking at skill sets to see what we got going on. And this really kind of feels pretty close to me like Mexico Open again. Wide open fairways. Distance is an advantage, but you don't have to be super long, just long enough. Like that's what she said, right? Uh, the greens are also top 10 easiest green in regulation. So putting is going to be huge. So it's basically trying to choose a guy that's going to get a hot putter. And they also run a bit on the slow side due to the Texas wind because you don't want the ball blowing all over the surface. So that's kind of similar to Vidanta as well. Now it's bent grass versus paspalum on the greens, but there's just similarities. Always a grass fairway is a little spongy, kind of like paspalum. So you're going to see that kind of event similarity. But Zoysia fairways, so that's another thing that I'll look at. Hashtag Team Zoysia, that's what I call it. It's not so much like I used to be on it because it was like so rare. So now they have like we have a pretty decent sample size to date now. 2 years here sample size at Craig's Ranch. And then we got a few years in Japan at Narashino for the Zozo. East Lake every year for the Tour Championship is Zoysia Fairways. So, Texas is the main defense. And with the par 71, I think scoring will be down, obviously, because there's one less easy ass par five on there. So that could be 4 strokes right there, obviously. It could even be more. So it might be down around 20 to 19 under par for your winner. Now, players. Like we said, guys are taking the week off right before the PGA, but guys that have been off, like Scotty Scheffler and Hideki Matsuyama, are in the field. Guys who like to play the week before a major, and there's a ton of guys that do. So Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth lead us off. Scotty 11,900, big discount over 10,600 Jordan Spieth, and then Terrell Hatton makes a rare appearance in the 5-digit range at 10,100. And then, of course, immediately, like these other events have been, we're down into the 9Ks, and that's just because pricing, like Toe Tag Tambo, Tyler Tambolini talks about with pricing, DK will not go below 6K on this pricing. So when you get these weaker field events, you're going to be shortening yourself in the 5-digit range. And then you're going to be shortening yourself, obviously, in the 9K range because there's only about a half a dozen 9Ks. And then you got you're probably a decent 8K, and you're going to have a bunch of 7Ks, low 7Ks. And obviously the 6K, probably 60% of the field is 6K and below or 7K and below. I mean, you go all the way down. I mean, you can see all these guys, the Birdman, the Westmorelands, the Marty Dews of the world, all the way down here, some Tano Goya for you, and David Micheluzzi, NASCAR or converted Formula One driver. It looks like a Formula One driver, doesn't it, that name? Anyway, I digress. So basically, we'll get to Scotty. We'll go up top. Just real quick, we all know what we're looking at when it comes to the top players. But when it comes to strategy, there's difference. So basically, Scotty comes to play every week. He's a Texas guy, Texas grad, good in the wind. Good course record here. So we would jump over here to Scotty and see what we're working with here. And so he's got 15th, the 47th, and the 35th. So he's played here before. You got Spieth, second place last year, and ninth place the year before. And then you got Decky, who's got four decent results, made cuts in a third last year. Decky doing the exact same thing last year. He's been off since the 16th place finish at the Masters. So he did the same thing last year when he came in third, took off until this event. So he came in third last year after the same break. So anyway, that's kind of solid. And then obviously we got KH Lee, the back-to-back champ. So what are we going to do with KH Lee? Well, eighth place finish at Wells Fargo last year. So cue up the KH Lee band. And obviously this is a big area for Korean players. So you got KH Lee, you got Siwoo Kim, you got Tom Kim, you got all kinds of people in the community around this area, so they know this course pretty well. They live out in Texas and all that good stuff. And so basically, I spun up a quick model and I loaded it up with strokes gained total, field DK points, and just basically massive off the tee and a ball striking approach type stuff, and then maybe recent form approach ball striking. Those things. And I came up with a top 15 list. I'll show it to you in just a second, but wanted to go over this strategy. What seems to be, in my opinion, going on here with the new elevated event schedule is when we get these off-field events where they're not elevated, going extreme stars and scrubs on these events like Mexico, Valero, Valspar type stuff. Take your stand up top, double up on top, and then skip right down to the 7Ks mid range. So if you go Scotty, go heavy on Scotty, go Spieth, go heavy on Spieth. Now it would be difficult. And by the way, shout out Billy Ho contest is live. So the link will be in the description. Make sure you get a spot. But if you want to go up top, we're going to just do a little bit of playing around here before we get out. Scotty, and if you wanted to go those two, you're immediately pigeonholed into 68.75, right? So what I would do here is immediately go to my man down here, Korean Mafia Sung Kang at flat 6K, which there's a bunch of people. But if you can find a guy you're comfortable with down here that you think can make the cut, then you put yourself right back up to 7,100, and then you can get in here and play around in the 6Ks and run your models and whatnot. And I'll show you my model here in just a second. But you could get like a Kevin Tway or somebody, and then that gets you right back in the mix for your last two guys at 7,500. And you can figure it out from there. Now, if you don't want to get that deep in the hole with a Spieth Scheffler start, you can start with Spieth, and then you got Decky, and you're 7,400 and you're dancing. You can actually go KH Lee, and then you're in the same spot you were just a second ago with the two top dogs, but now you got three. If you think KH Lee's going to run them back, I don't, maybe not technically going to win it again, but people said that last year. But I mean, he seems to be rounding into form with the 8th place last week, so don't count him out, people. So anyway, that's just kind of how I thought my first builds were going to go, is just absolutely loading up on top with maybe 3, and then you can just jump way down and get a couple of 6Ks and a 7K, and then maybe just skip the 8K range altogether. Seamus Power, Mav McNeely, Montgomery's been playing like shit. Benny On is still, I mean, this might be a good Benny On course. I mean, they're not saying there ain't guys here. Hoagie, not impressed. Minwoo Lee, I mean, Wise, Yeager, Hadwin, Spawn. Spawn was good to me last week, though. I'll give him that. But, I mean, that's an option. We all have options, and that's one of them. So, anyway, right before I get out of here, the big reveal on the model. So, basically, what we're looking at here is the top 15. And you can see it. It's, of course, Scotty, Terrell Hatton's been playing really good this year. And I believe the number 3 guy on the model, Sam Stevens, number 3, Slamming Sammy, been looking pretty good. Number 4, obviously, we go back up to the dogs, Tom Kim, Jason Day, all playing well. I made a mistake, almost made a mistake last week. I had Jason Day in my lineups. And then I do want to say real quick, these injury report people on Twitter are helpful, but they are also harmful because they get in my head. I don't know if they get in your head or not, but I start reading these reports Wednesday night on Jason Day and his vertigo shit. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not having this. I can pivot to somebody and be comfortable. I don't play Jason Day very often anyway. So I pivoted to Sam Burns, and he was out. He was even par when the cut jumped to -1. I thought, shit, here we go. And then Jason Day doubles that par 3 to double bogey and then drops to even par on 17. And he misses the cut anyway. So I got kind of bailed out like that. Anyway, the 8th place KH Lee last week we talked about. And then we got guys like Ryan Palmer showing up here in the Model 8th. We got Vincent R. Norman made the top 15. Joey B. Bramlett. Bramlett might be really good for this course with the length and the way he's been actually improved in the putting ranks. Then we got the Woos, Wu Tang, Brandon Wu, and Dylan Wu make the list. And then Michael Kim has actually been playing quite well lately, 7,500. So, back up to Terrell Hatton real quick. No course history to speak of. So that's kind of interesting. Terrell, to me, doesn't seem like a Texas dude. Like he's played in Texas events before, but not fared very, very well. So I don't know if it's the wind or the dry weather or the lack of, because he's a Florida guy, and like last week he played really well at Wells Fargo in Carolinas. So who knows? Anyway, thank you for joining me. More Derby content, post race recap coming up, and Preakness coming up. So stick around, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Till then, see you soon. Thanks again.